Carlos Alcaraz fuels romance rumors with Peggy Goo with his latest gesture. The South Korean DJ was seen in the Australian Open champions box during one of his matches. Every time Carlos Alcaraz plays a Grand Slam, he is linked to a new girlfriend. The recent Australian Open champion has been associated with South Korean model and DJ Peggy Goo after she was seen in the Merchant tennis player's box during his match against Alex de Minaur. This is a space usually reserved for the athlete's team and inner circle, so the gesture did not go unnoticed. Her involvement during the match was absolute. Cameras followed her gestures, celebrations, and nervous moments non-stop, to the point that several specialized media outlets shared videos focused exclusively on her reactions. In the subsequent press conference, the tennis player was asked about her. "She's really cool and I hope to win the next round if I want to see her set music. I'm happy she's close. She's given me a lot of support, which is really cool. I hope I can see her on Sunday," he said. Peggy was in Melbourne for work, as she had several shows coinciding with the Australian Open, including a performance in the final as part of OW Live, which combines tennis and live music as part of the event's programming. In statements to the Australian newspaper, the artist explained that they met thanks to a mutual friend, restaurant and nightclub entrepreneur David Grutman. "We are friends. Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner were playing matches in Korea and my parents are big tennis fans. They asked me, 'Could you get us a ticket, please?' I asked David and he was the one who introduced us. We met in Korea and became good friends," Goo said. Despite the fact that both have made their relationship clear, the world number one's latest gesture has only fueled rumors, especially among fans. Alcaraz accompanied his latest batch of photos on Instagram with a song by the artist, It Goes, Na Na Na, which is very popular on social media and streaming charts. Peggy Goo is 34 years old and is one of the most influential DJs on the international electronic music scene. Born in South Korea, she studied at the prestigious London College of Fashion and, over time, has collaborated with luxury brands such as Bottega Veneta, consolidating a professional career that goes far beyond music. Sinner congratulates Carlos Alcaraz after his victory at the Australian Open. The story of Alcaraz and Sinner is not only one of competition, but also of mutual respect, parallel evolution, and a rivalry that is already part of the DNA of modern tennis. Today we tell you how, even in defeat, Sinner found a way to congratulate his great rival. Stay with us to find out. Carlos Alcaraz conquered the Australian Open 2026 with a memorable performance, defeating Novak Djokovic in 4 sets, and in doing so became a living legend of tennis. But while the spotlight was on the Merchant, there was a discreet presence that also made itself felt, Jannik Sinner. The Italian, who was unable to defend his title after falling in the semifinals to Djokovic, made an unexpected gesture on social media. In a simple but powerful Instagram story, Sinner congratulated his colleague and rival, showing class, respect, and a clear understanding of the historic moment his generation was living. For many, it was more than a message, it was a sign of maturity and sportsmanship. Sinner, known for being reserved and not very expressive in public, let a single image speak for him. He did not use elaborate words or grand statements, but his post was interpreted by many as an implicit recognition of the stratospheric level Alcaraz is reaching. This brief story was his way of humbly accepting that the throne in Melbourne no longer belongs to him. Gone is the double crown he had achieved, and with it, a fleeting era of dominance now eclipsed by the overwhelming rise of the young Merchant, who already has 3 different Grand Slams in his resume. It was not just a congratulation between rivals. It was a symbolic snapshot marking the generational transfer of leadership in tennis. Alcaraz is building more than just a good career, he is making history. And Sinner, who during 2025 was largely absent from the courts due to a suspension that halted his rise, now watches as the gap with the world number one grows wider. More than 3,000 points separate them in the ATP ranking, a figure that will not be easy to reduce and could define the dynamics of the 2026 season. Until Roland Garros, there seems to be no way to close that gap. Paradoxically, although Sinner was absent for much of 2025, Alcaraz also did not have his best year. Unexpected setbacks in key tournaments such as Doha, Miami, or Madrid prevented him from extending his advantage even further. But it was in Australia where everything changed. There, the Merchant proved that he is still capable of adapting, evolving, and dominating. Sinner, on the other hand, still needs time to recover his competitive rhythm, something that became evident in his match against Djokovic, where he failed to show his best version. Even so, his respect for Alcaraz says a lot about the kind of athlete he is. Sinner's gesture also carries an implicit promise. Although today he celebrates his rival's success, no one doubts that his ambition remains intact. He is no longer champion in Melbourne, but he still has the opportunity to complete his own career Grand Slam. In fact, While Alcaraz achieves it first, Sinner observes, learns, and waits for his moment. This story is far from over. Both are still writing together one of the most exciting chapters in contemporary tennis, and everything suggests their duels will continue to generate plenty of conversation. The meaning of Jannik Sinner's gesture goes beyond the moment itself. It is proof that the rivalry between him and Carlos Alcaraz is one of the healthiest and most stimulating on the circuit. Unlike other eras marked by tension and controversy, these two young champions have shown that it is possible to compete at the highest level without losing respect and mutual admiration. That Instagram story reflects a professional relationship where the other's success is not a source of envy, but of inspiration. And in a sport as demanding as tennis, that is no small thing. Sinner knows that the summit becomes higher when Alcaraz is at his best. He has experienced it firsthand, both in victory and defeat. In Melbourne, watching Alcaraz defeat Djokovic, his own nemesis in the semi-finals, was not easy, but it also represented a clear demonstration of the level required to return to the top. And although the gap in ranking points is currently enormous, the calendar is long and opportunities will return. Roland Garros, Wimbledon, the US Open. Each tournament will be a new battle, and Sinner seems ready to fight. Although many see Alcaraz as the clear favorite to remain world number one this year, Sinner could be his greatest threat. With the suspension now behind him and renewed desire, the Italian is looking to recover lost time. He has the conditions, the talent, and the mindset. What he needs is continuity. If he manages to string together good results, especially on the clay and grass swings, the fight for the throne could reignite. And if this new era of tennis has proven anything, it is that nothing is written until the last point of the final set. The year 2026 is beginning with a powerful narrative, the consecration of Alcaraz and the rebirth of Sinner. And in that narrative, small gestures matter. The story we are witnessing is not only that of a champion winning titles, but also of a competitor who, from the shadows, applauds with elegance while preparing to shine again. Tennis is also a matter of attitude, and Sinner has it. His message on social media was the perfect way to close a chapter without resentment and begin a new one with ambition. What is also interesting is how social media has become yet another stage of modern sport. A simple post can have more impact than a press conference. In Sinner's case, it was his way of speaking when he did not want to give interviews. And although brief, his message reached millions. Alcaraz, for his part, did not respond publicly, but it is certain that he noticed it. Between them, very little needs to be said. The connection is sporting, but also personal. Unexpected message from Alcaraz's mother after his victory. It is well known that family is key to Carlos Alcaraz in his day-to-day life, both on and off the court. The success of the Mercian tennis player cannot be understood without fully knowing his entire universe, from the daily closeness of his brother and father to the constant suffering, always from afar in El Palmar, of his mother, Virginia. This fact was clearly reflected in the image of the newly crowned Australian Open champion upon his arrival in his hometown, El Palmar, where he still lives with his parents and siblings. As a result, the words of his mother Virginia in the Netflix documentary A Mi Manera have once again gained importance, when she expressed one of her main concerns regarding the moment her son is going through. People expect him to be like Rafa, a legend, she stated, referring to the constant comparisons with Rafael Nadal that have accompanied Alcaraz since his first major victories. Although she acknowledges that these comparisons are an honor, the tennis player's mother warns of the risk posed by such high expectations for a player who is still taking his first steps among the elite. But he must not let people get into that personal space of his, Virginia herself pointed out, underlining the importance of protecting the athlete's personal balance. In this sense, she was blunt in expressing her greatest fear, that they don't turn him into a broken toy. The words of Alcaraz's mother highlight the less visible side of success. While the tennis player has become one of the biggest names in sport after becoming the youngest player to win the main tournaments on the circuit, his family tries to ensure that he keeps his feet on the ground and preserves the simplicity that has characterized him since his beginnings. Virginia Garcia, who keeps a low profile, rarely gives interviews, but in the documentary she offers an intimate view of how the family is living through this moment. A resident of El Palmar, the Mercian town where Alcaraz grew up with his three brothers, the tennis player's mother tries to maintain as normal a life as possible, far from the spotlight that now surrounds her son. In addition, her involvement in the Carlos Alcaraz Foundation, dedicated to children's well-being through sport, reflects how the young star's success has also transformed family life. Garcia is a board member of the organization, while the tennis player's father serves as vice president. With her statements, Virginia Garcia sends a clear message: beyond titles and records, the priority is to protect Carlos Alcaraz as a person in a career marked by early fame and constant pressure.